My name is Jill Savage. And for 22 years, I believed I was in a solid, unshakable marriage. My husband, Mark, was a pastor. We were the couple people looked to. We wrote books on family. We taught others how to build strong homes. And then, one ordinary Tuesday afternoon, I picked up his phone to check the weather. And my entire world shattered. It wasn't even the worst text. It was a conversation with another woman about boundaries. But my spirit knew. My stomach dropped. I confronted him, he apologized, promised it was just an emotional line crossed, and we tried to move on. I wanted so desperately to believe the nightmare was over. But 4 months later, the real truth came out. He had fallen asleep on the couch, and there it was. The full, physical evidence of an affair, glowing on the screen in his hand. In that moment I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Became physically ill. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. That's what betrayal trauma does. It's not just a heartbreak. It's a physical earthquake in your body. The man I had built my life with, raised our kids with, served our community with, was a stranger. And the story of us was a lie. For weeks, I operated on autoperm. I was a ghost in my own life. I'd make the kids' lunches and then sit on the kitchen floor, sobbing. I'd see a couple holding hands and feel a rage so hot it scared me. My mind was a torture chamber of questions. When? Where? How could you? Did you love her? Every happy memory we had felt poisoned. Our entire past felt like a crime scene I was now forced to investigate. And Mark? He was wrecked with shame. He would answer my questions, but it was like pulling teeth. He wanted to move on because the guilt was so heavy. But I couldn't move an inch. I needed to know every detail. Not to punish him, but because my brain was desperately trying to build a true story from the rubble. The story I had believed was gone. I needed a new one, even if it was horrifying, just so I could know what was real. I had every right to leave. Society, my friends, even parts of my family would have completely understood. Once a cheater, always a cheater, right? But I also had this stubborn, quiet voice inside. Maybe the Holy Spirit, maybe just my own heart, asking a different question. Do you want to understand why this fortress fell? Walking away would have been an ending. But staying meant we had to become detectives of our own destruction. And that meant Mark had to do something incredibly hard. He had to stop just being sorry and start being transparent. Proactively. Radically. I needed him to volunteer information before I asked. I needed him to hand me his phone, not with a sigh, but with an understanding that my need to see it was about my safety, not his privacy. He had to understand that trust wasn't a switch I could flip back on. It was 1,000 tiny bricks, and he had to lay every single one of them, day after day, by being where he said he'd be, doing what he said he'd do. And for me, I had to learn the difference between setting a boundary and building a prison. Checking his car location every 10 minutes was a prison. For both of us. It kept me in a state of panic and him in a state of resentment. A boundary was, if you're going to be late, you need to call. And if I'm having a bad day and need to ask you a hard question, you need to stay present and answer it. Safety isn't control. Safety is consistent, reliable behavior over time. Here's the part no one talks about enough. To build something new, you have to understand what was broken in the old. And it's never just one person's fault. The affair was 100% Mark's choice. 100%. But our marriage had become a hollowed-out place long before. Mark's identity was Pastor Mark. When he stepped away from ministry, he was lost. He didn't know who he was if he wasn't preaching. And me. My identity was the pastor's wife. The keeper of the perfect image. I was so busy managing the facade of our perfect family that I stopped seeing the man crumbling inside it. We were both living broken scripts. His led him to seek validation in a forbidden place. Mine led me to enable and ignore the growing distance between us. In therapy, we had to excavate those scripts. We had to grieve the loss of the perfect couple we thought we were. It was brutal, but for the first time we were being brutally honest. Not just about the affair, but about our loneliness, our disappointments, our unmet needs. We were naked in the garden again, terrified but real. The marriage we have today is not the one we had before. That one died, and we had to let it die. This new marriage is built on a foundation of truths we were too afraid to say before. We don't assume. We ask, how are you really feeling? What do you need from me today? We have given each other permission to be human, flawed, struggling, and in need of grace. My happiness is no longer his job description, and his validation is no longer mine to solely provide. We are two whole people choosing each other, not two halves clinging to an idea. Is our marriage perfect? No. Do I still have moments of pain? Yes. The scar is still there. But a scar is evidence of healing. It's stronger than the skin around it. People ask me, how could you ever forgive? Forgiveness wasn't a moment. It was a road. And it wasn't for him. It was for me. To set down the poison of bitterness. The choice to stay and rebuild was the hardest, most expensive choice of my life. Cost us everything we thought we were. To become who we are now. And who we are now is two people who have seen the very worst in each other, and against all odds, chose to find something worth saving. We are proof that a relationship can be broken and remade. Not the same. But sometimes in the broken places, if you're willing to do the sacred, painful work, you can let the light in. And that light, it's stronger than any darkness.